So here's my dog list post for the 28th of May. I watched an episode 3 of Drinking from the Toilet, and they had a guest star, Leslie McDevitt, I think is how you say her name. So they kind of started the podcast out by talking about biofeedback. So we're going to look at observable behaviors that are linked to a emotional biochemical process that we can't necessarily always access. So we have to use it. We're going to use biofeedback by just observing and taking in those different behaviors that like animals do. They also talked about like what functional reinforcement is. So that is using a stimulus to hopefully increase the probability of a behavior to increase more likely. So we want a behavior to come more often. So we're going to look at a stimulus to hopefully improve that. From there, they kind of went into talking about like things that they wish that we could improve in the dog world. So one of the things that they really talked about was that they wish that we could get away from this like blame game. So blaming either A, the handler, or B, the dog for not getting a response that we want. So for instance, like blaming the handler, it would be like in agility, if the dog is sniffing on the grass because it probably smells amazing, you have to be more exciting than the place that the dog is sniffing. And if you don't, if you're not more exciting, then you are the failure, and this is your fault that the dog is not interested in you, which also kind of turns into the handler internalizing that, being like, well, my dog, you know, questioning like the relationship that you have with your dog. So that I can't do this, so my dog doesn't love me enough. So then it kind of creates a lot of frustration. On the side of the dog, blaming the dog is like, if for instance, if a dog maybe is struggling in obedience, handlers might say, oh, well, they just don't like obedience, or they just don't find it interesting enough, when you probably just haven't found the right ways to teach it, or you haven't broken it down, which kind of leads into like the next thing that they talked about is that we need to put a more emphasis on breaking behaviors down into smaller chunks that are more manageable for both just the handler and the dog, and to really just slow down. So don't rush through a behavior because you want to finish it. Make sure that it is it's done well, and that the dog feels comfortable in that behavior, and that they know exactly what you want out of it, which led to them just talking about like a positive growth mindset being like the power of yet. So we need to empower our handlers to, we can't control the whole world, but we can control the space that we're training in. We can control how we interact with dogs and other animals, and that we can control the behaviors that we notice. We can control what we notice about how our dog is interacting with us, or how they're doing with a behavior that we're trying to train, and that we can take that and turn it into a really positive place.